Hello and welcome back to the Airing It Out podcast, or should I say Merry Christmas. If you are joining us on the day and you are listening to this on the 25th of December, then thank you ever so much for taking time out of this big special day to listen to us. If you're not listening to it on the day, then that's all right. Thank you for tuning in anyways. We appreciate you being here. If you're listening on Spotify, I have some bad news for you. You are unfortunately missing out on my horrendous Christmas jumper. You can find us on YouTube if you'd like to have a look. It is garish. It is pretty terrible, but I love it. It embarrasses everybody around me, but it's Christmas, so what are you going to do? If you wanted to check us out on YouTube, it should just be the Airing It Out podcast. It's probably worth a look. Now, it's been a little bit of time before we did our last solo episode. The last episode was with a guest. Thank you to Brandon. You were fantastic. I'll say it every single time. He really showed up and it was really productive. And every time I look back on that episode, it's such a positive experience. I will say I'm going to take every opportunity to do so when I have it. Brandon, you were fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on and giving us everything that you did. I look back at that and every single time I do, it's just such a positive experience. But I must admit, the last solo episode that we did was left on a little bit of a cliffhanger. It was the day before my second kickboxing fight. And yeah, so that has been and gone. I won. It was a unanimous decision victory, which meant all judges voted in my favour. I didn't get the finish, but I got my hand raised. So before I go into the detail of it, we're going to try and make this episode a little bit more quick, seeing as though it's the Christmas episode. I don't want to take up loads of your time. I want you to be spending this time with the people who mean the most that are around you today and just making the most of today. So, excuse me. Just my thoughts on that episode. I look back retrospectively and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm a little bit nervous for it to come out and get feedback on it because I don't know why, but I feel as though within myself I was pretty, not docile, but I wasn't giving too much, and that could have been for a plethora of reasons. I was a little bit nervous that day because I thought there was a chance I could get ill the day before my fight, and that just brought back so many negative. There was a chance that could have been like my first fight, and that the idea of having to live through that again was terrible. I wanted to be the best health that I could be. So perhaps my mind was a little bit preoccupied. Talking of mind being preoccupied, I had this thing the next day which was very important to me. I was trying to be as present as I could and give the best to you as I could and talk and give myself. But whether I like it or not, my mind could have been somewhere else. During COVID, I spent a lot of time watching UFC. Like I watched over at least 230 of the actual events, including a lot of interviews with the fighter. And I always thought, man, these guys are boring. They just kind of sit there in front of the camera and talk, and they talk about how they're going to fight and what they're going to do. But now that I've kind of put myself in that position, I can kind of understand why. Talking to a camera, whether you like it or not, may be not the most important thing on your mind. But so yeah, I hope that that episode is received a little bit more positively, or I can be a little bit more proactive in giving you a bit more now that I've learned from that. So, fight day. It started off a bit strangely. Two of the guys who were also fighting on the show from my gym, they were both going in at 9 a.m. to the gym to do the weigh-ins. Now, weighing in is an important element of fighting competitively because it's the agreed upon weight that both fighters will fight at, so it's an even match. Doesn't matter about age, doesn't matter about height or build or any of that, so long as you can meet an agreed weight. And usually the idea is to go down from your, what they call walking around weight, to this agreed weight so that you're faster, you're more efficient in your body, and your body becomes conditioned in the process of doing so. Particularly with MMA fights, which isn't what I was doing, they do weight cuts. So that's losing a drastic amount of weight by dehydrating yourself as much as you can so you can get to as low a weight as possible. So getting to as low a weight as possible kind of becomes the norm when it comes to making this agreed upon weight. MMA, you need more strength because of the grappling side of it. So that's why it's more of a drastic cut. But all the same, the opportunity on the day was there to weigh in send it to this guy instead of going to the official weigh-in at 12 o'clock over in the location that the fight was being held. So they said that they were going to, I was like, shit, right, I'm going there as well. Get it done, get it sent off, and get that shit over me. Otherwise, it's a matter of staying dehydrated and not eating until midway through the day where you're competing later on. So I thought, if I can get this done, get it out the way, sweet, let's go. Then I can rehydrate, refuel, be ready. We did it, we weighed it all in, and then as a little bit of a celebration, we went for a bit of a dirty fry-up. I didn't have a massive one, but, you know, it's a dirty, cheap fry-up. It is what it is. Went back home, was meeting back at the gym in a couple hours. I had another breakfast, which I'd already prepared. I thought, you know what, I'll do the weigh-in, have this, give it a little bit more of everything, bit more fuel, bit more energy, wicked. So I had 2 breakfasts, and I was rehydrating myself after. Wicked, cool, getting the fuel in me. We all meet up back at the gym, getting ready to go, and my coach was like, well, you know, there's always a chance he might not accept the videos that we sent him, and you might have to weigh in again. And we were like, what? What do you mean? He said, oh, well, he might not accept the quality of the videos, so you might have to weigh in again. And all of us were like, you're shitting me. Because we'd all then gone away, started drinking loads, started eating loads, and now we're going to have to go and step back on the scales again. So the whole drive over there, my coach's confidence in this guy receiving the videos and being okay with it just dropped slowly to eventually it was just like, well, you're just going to have to do it again anyway. And so that whole time, my confidence or my stress was just going up in the fact that I'm going to have to do this again. I've eaten one greasy, dirty breakfast and a big, massive breakfast as well. And I've been hydrating since. Fuck. That. Yeah, it was a pretty fucking horrible situation. I think that just really kind of threw me off, and it was just, it was horrible. But I think we got to the event, and I was trying to convince this guy, so look, if we show you the videos now, it's higher quality, because this guy doubted the quality of it, and, you know, there's always a chance you could throw a video like that by stepping on the scale or doing some way to kind of fake it. But it was just like, just do it anyway. I was bricking it. I thought, fuck me. Got down to my boxes, stepped on the scale, and I was somehow still underweight. And I made weight somehow there and then. But I think, honestly, because of the stress that I was under on that journey through, that I managed to sweat all that water out of me. I don't really know how I did it, but oh, yeah, and coming down from that, it set a bit of a tone, I think. That stress kind of stayed with me, and it's never really the event itself, it's the waiting in between which kind of gets to you. It's that time in between the quiet, the quiet before the calm before the storm, as it were. And for my first fight, I wasn't really nervous, but I think, as I mentioned in the episode, I was kind of detached from it. I was beyond the point of being emotionally invested, where I just kind of let it happen. But this time my mind was ticking over, and where I had that stress before, it kind of seeped into it, and I was nervous. I was nervous about it, I will say that. And it was only up until about 45 minutes before I was going on that someone gave me some earpods, and I started listening to my music, and that started flicking the switch from normal into killer mode. The fight was the first fight, as I might have mentioned before, the very first fight of the night. Not very typical, seeing as though both of us had a record, or both of us had had a fight before. But he had to be somewhere, which was peculiar, but that's neither here nor there. So we were the opening fight of the night, and yeah, it was brilliant. He did what we thought he would do, which is come towards me, trying to take my head off the entire time. I was on the back foot the entire time, but I threw everything but the kitchen sink at him, and props to him. This guy had a chin of granite. He took everything and just kept on coming. But yeah, really great fight. Didn't take too much damage. All I had was a little bit of a dink in my eye, so very grateful for that. My cardio was absolutely shagged. This time round, I didn't do any running. I just did 5 times training a week. So by the end of the fight, I was knackered. I remember sitting down on the stool after the second round, and that's probably the heaviest I've ever sat down on anything ever. I was dead worried I was going to fucking split that stool in two. When it came to the end of the fight, we walked downstairs because we were based underneath this place. I stepped down on one step and thought I was going to collapse. I had to be carried down the stairs, and my legs just completely went from underneath me. So next time, I'm going to run. Yeah, I was so chuffed with it. I was on cloud 9 for the rest of that night, and it was brilliant. In retrospect, like I mentioned, the whole process was so much more healthy and positive. I'm really pleased with how it went and how I'd learnt from the previous time and made it such a more enjoyable experience. And after it, I was a little bit, whereabouts are we at? What time? 12 minutes, yeah, that's not so bad. After the fight, it was strange because I'd done this thing, and you don't go into the ring and come out the same person as you were before. You know, win, lose or draw, you've gone in there and done something. You've undertaken a feat of quite some high demand, whether that be of bravery, courage, stupidity or strength. You're not the same person as you were when you went in, when you come out. And you got to kind of learn to deal with that, or you can choose to deal with that in certain ways. I think after a win, there's a certain amount of egoism. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but you have gone in there and you have done this thing, and you can then say that you have, but your ego certainly grows as a result of that. And a big part of afterwards was learning to humble myself again, bring myself back down, make sure my feet were firmly planted on the floor, and carrying on, not letting this thing become a defining factor of who I was or how I thought of myself. Another big part of it was I felt directionless. And it was difficult. I felt I lost touch with who I was, because for 9 weeks I'd had a direct purpose. I had something to strive towards. I had something to work each effort in the direction towards that I could achieve. And after having crossed that line and achieved that accomplishment, you're then left with, what now? Where do I go? Like, what is there that I'm pushing towards? Things are just kind of ticking over. So it took me quite a while. It took me about a month to really sit down and say to myself, I need to figure out what it is I'm doing, or why it is that I'm doing this. Because at the moment I'm just ticking over, and I lost touch with who I was because I wasn't driving towards anything. I wasn't striving or moving towards a purpose. There wasn't anything at the end of what it was I was doing. So it was just one day after the next. But like I said, I've taken that time and I'm back where I was. I'm remotivated, driven, and we're going back at it again. So the past couple of years, I've had this strange kind of relationship with Christmas, or at least I've seen it in different ways. It seems to me that Christmas nowadays is becoming so commercial and commoditized, and that it's becoming far less about the spirit of Christmas and festivities and joys and being with your loved ones, and it's becoming far more about the things that you can be buying, the things that you can be buying for others, the gifts that you're receiving, and it's becoming very money-centric. The essence of Christmas is being lost in the fact that it's starting so much earlier, because we're having all of this Christmas advertisement shoved down our throats before we're ever ready. That's the first thing that we're thinking of, and we don't get a chance to naturally kind of begin thinking about Christmas when we're ready to. I know that in America there were legislations recently surrounding Halloween, and when it was appropriate for them to start, how much they could market the sweets and the confectionery side of Halloween, because it's such a massive thing over there, and health is such a massive thing over there. The government tried to implement a way that they could kind of deter or at least prevent that happening. But one of the things that they did instead is instead of reducing the amount that they sold, they just started it 3 weeks earlier. And it seems that, like, particularly having worked in a supermarket, as soon as one event in the calendar is over, it's on to the next one. And after Halloween, it usually is a matter of days before you start seeing Christmas advertised everywhere. And it's almost as if you're being forced into it and then being brainwashed into thinking that you need to be buying things for other people. You need to be preparing for Christmas. You need to be making sure you've got all of your bases covered. Buy this from this person. Where should we get the turkey? And everything seems to have a price tag and a label that's orientated around Christmas nowadays. And I don't think that's what Christmas should be. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not innocent of this. Last year, I spent way more than I should have on Christmas. I love giving gifts. That's the thing. I love giving gifts. I love doing something for somebody else. And my relationship with giving gifts is a celebration of the relationship that you have with that person. So it's finding the best way of expressing your relationship with that person in the form of something. And the best way to do that is just kind of to pay for it, to find something that you can buy. But I don't like the idea of throwing money at something and then saying, this is how I'm going to express my gratitude towards you or my love towards you. Ideally it would be, I've always loved the idea of making something for somebody at Christmas instead of throwing money and then saying, okay, that's it, done. If you could put time and effort into it, and then I think that is more valuable than than anything. Yeah, I think when it comes to Christmas Day, you've bought all of these gifts and you've done all of these things. Your love and gratitude and everything that you'd want to receive is then encapsulated within this box, which is wrapped up underneath the Christmas tree. And while what I mentioned about creating something for somebody can fall under that, I think it's important to recognize the rest of the day as well. I don't think that the extent of your gratitude and love expressed through a gift should be all that you do for somebody or the people that you love and the people that you're surrounded with. And I've been thinking about the idea of a mindful Christmas and what a mindful Christmas would look like. And sure, it's part of our tradition now to give gifts. And like I said, I love doing that. That's a part of Christmas that we can't avoid, nor were it taken away would we enjoy probably as much. But I was thinking, what can we do around just that one part of Christmas? So I've been thinking about what a mindful Christmas would be like, or how we could be more mindful around the day. I don't want all of your love and appreciation just to be kind of compartmentalized in this one part, and then you can kind of detach from it and say, okay, I've done my bit. Your love, gratitude, and my expression towards you is wrapped up underneath the tree. How can we do it around the day? And I've been... Hopefully you're with the people who you love and appreciate the most. And Christmas, as quickly as it comes, it's gone again. So I think to start with, just try to be present. Like, if I can just be there and appreciate every moment as it's happening, usually it's pretty chaotic. And in that chaos, everything gets swept up and goes at 100 miles per hour. So if we are able to, within ourselves, slow it down and appreciate each moment, then that gives us more opportunity to make the most of it as it's happening. At Christmas, typically, my mum, we like to host Christmases, whether it be for 6 people, 9 people, or this year, 18 people. It's going to be a pretty manic one, but the kitchen is off limits. The kitchen is a no-go. You do not go into the kitchen if mum is cooking. But my brother, my dad and I, we are all so desperate to help. We want to help because we see how much effort my mum puts into this. We see what she gives in order for everybody else. That is her expression of what she can do for people. But we not only have to see her give that much of herself, put herself under that stress and pressure to make sure it's all right. And she wants it to be perfect. But then we are like, how do we fit into this? How are we part of the puzzle? And there's only so much gratitude that you can give by laying the table and getting people drinks. It doesn't quite balance up with, the cooking of the dinner. And this year, in preparation for Christmas, 18 people, the whole family, it's going to be a fucking riot. We've said to her, Mum, you can't do this single-handedly. We have to be there to help you. We have to all chip in if this is going to go well. If she tried to do it on her own, it would be devastating. It couldn't happen. It wouldn't be feasible. So the idea of she's not going to be able to do it alone. We are all going to have to chip in. And seeing as though there's so many of us, we've all got to do it together. And so this year we've all been given each little roles and responsibilities. And now that means we all have a balanced role, which we can then contribute towards each other so that we are each in our own way responsible for how we feel on the day. And I love the idea of that. That in itself is the Christmas spirit. It's everybody giving a part of themselves so that everybody can be feeling that one way together. So I think giving yourself, giving what you have within you to contribute towards making something better, not just around Christmas, but particularly at Christmas, is a way that you can improve the day for yourself and those around you. So on Christmas, I thought about this. I thought it might be a nice idea. Instead of gift giving be entirely motivated by money, entirely by things wrapped up underneath the tree, how about the source of the gift come from you? So on Christmas Day, give somebody that you love the gift of your time. Give somebody that you love the gift of your effort. And give somebody that you love the gift of your love. And I know that sounds silly, but doing that for somebody, being there for them, sharing that burden is the Christmas spirit. Or at least that's what I think the Christmas spirit should be. Being there for each other, giving yourself for one another, and kind of celebrating the love that you have for the people. And when it comes from within, then it's real. I think that sounds nice. Yeah. Take some time, be present, and do what you can do for the people around you that you love on Christmas. Now, it wouldn't be fair to think that everybody's Christmas is sunshine, wreaths, candy canes, and stockings. For some people, in their circumstances, Christmas can be quite a daunting time. It can be quite an apprehensive time. For whatever reason, Christmas might not be the time of year that it is so widely celebrated for everybody else. If Christmas isn't something that you look forward to, or it isn't what you hoped it could be, then please know that we're here for you. We love you. There are people out there that also love you. The new year is just around the corner. There's new opportunities. And there's always something better on the horizon. We hope that you have a wonderful Christmas. We hope that you're able to spend it with the people that you love. But if you aren't able to, please know that you are still loved. There are still people out there for you, and things can always get better. So until next week, Merry Christmas. Hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. This has been a Common Bird production.